Tyrese Haliburton, the player that does not make mistakes. Called the most overrated player by NBA players, they couldn't be more than wrong. Though Hali may not be the most flashy guy, he's an automatic elite offense, and at the head of a Pacers team that just destroyed the Bucks. He's an efficient 3-level scorer, averaging nearly 20 and 10, while being a clear top 15 to 20 player as the new era's point god, but so many critics hate him. Why is this, and how good actually is Hali? Despite playmaking being what Hali is known for, and what he really excels at, it all starts from his scoring and the gravity around that. And what Haliburton is best at in that department is his three-pointer. Yeah, the form is weird, like really weird. He has both hands on both sides of the ball to start the shot and has a low release point. It kind of looks like he's pushing it, and the form does look bad. And one that would be from a paint-driven big that only shoots free throws. But it works really well. He's legitimately one of the best three-point shooters in the league, and he has been throughout his whole career, shooting over 39%. Since mid-November, Hali has shot nearly 41% from deep on over 7.5 attempts a game. What really makes Hali stand out so much as a deep-range shooter is his efficiency on high-volume pull-up threes. Over the last 3 seasons, Hali has made the 8th most pull-up threes and is shooting over 37% on those attempts, the second highest of those top 8 players, with only the greatest shooter ever above him. He has actual range, with 10 threes from over 30 feet, but where does Hali generate a lot of these pull-up looks? Well, the Pacers start nearly almost every Hali half-court possession with a high ball screen, usually with Miles Turner, and Hali is deadly coming off that. Now, we will talk more about that high ball screen later, but Hali kills opponents from the 3 in that spot, as he's averaging over 7 points a game and is in the 95th percentile of efficiency as the ball handler in the pick and roll. He punishes defenders that go under the screen. He's too good of a shooter for them to do that, but has such an unorthodox shot that he can still shoot with them going over the screen as long as he gets some separation. He's also solid in separating space in isolation and has a good step back, making 37.5% of his step back 3-pointers. Overall, he's still a variance player as pretty much any shooter is, and any shooter really can fall cold at times, but he's one of the best in the league and can even shoot off the catch at over 43%, one of just 22 players to shoot that efficient on that many makes from the catch and shoot. While all-star events really don't mean anything, the dude was invited to the 3-point contest last year. He's a shooter, and he may actually be a top 10 shooter considering volume and the type of threes he attempts. But Hali is still a pretty creative finisher under the rim. Now, he isn't elite in this area and likely never will be, and his frame is very polarizing. He's usually one of the weaker players on the court and can't often bully players on drives to the rim, though he has before, and just won't use pure strength to create shots at the rim, but what he does have physically is length. Hali measures at 6'5", but really feels taller in my opinion, and that is likely because of his good wingspan at 6'8" for a point guard. He's just able to get the ball over other players, especially shorter guards that he's driving on, but also naturally has an easier time finishing over bigger and taller guys. He's a pretty creative finisher and is very good at driving to the rim, as his passing gravity gives him better driving lanes, while he doesn't really get stripped often despite his height. Hali's also great at deaccelerating, and with his size, will punish bigger defenders with his decel if matched up against them. He's shooting an absurd 71.8% in the restricted area, and even 56.3% in the non-restricted area part of the paint. Even his midi is pretty efficient at 48.4%, leading to him being one of the most efficient high-volume players in the league. Since being traded to Indy over the last 3.5 years, he has had a true shooting percentage of 61.6%, while averaging 19.5 over that stretch, being one of just 3 guards to accomplish that, the others being Steph and Dame. What Hali possesses that many elite point guards aren't great at now is his off-ball threat. I already talked about how he can shoot at an elite rate off the catch, but his prowess as a player to create in all levels off the catch is elite. I will talk about this more, but Hali's a 99th percentile processor and is not scared to attack closeouts by driving past them. He's very smart and knows where to attack, and will do it right away, which makes it so scary. The main problem I would have with Hali as a scorer is his scoring aggression once he reaches the paint, as he really wants to pass and get his teammates good looks, but his percentages at the rim and the looks he gets show that he should be shooting more. Nonetheless, he's still a very good scorer, and that really unlocks the main part of his game, the playmaking aspect. Haliburton is genuinely one of the best passers of this era, maybe even of all time, and though he isn't very flashy and won't make crazy behind the back passes every other play, he's the modern version of Chris Paul. He fits more into the actual mold of what the model point guard should look like. A very good off-ball player and initiator that runs an offense through passing and not making mistakes. But that's where Hali really stands out. He genuinely does not make mistakes. Since he got drafted among players with genuine ball handling responsibilities, he has the 4th best assist to turnover ratio, and he was far and away the best this season at a staggering 5.61 assists for every turnover. Hali became the first player ever to pass for 670 assists while giving up less than 125 turnovers in a season, and I can go on and on with these stats, like how over a 12-game sample size, he passed for 134 assists and just 16 turnovers, and from January 23rd to the end of the season, he threw over 300 assists with just 42 turnovers. While assists and turnovers aren't completely indicative of how good a playmaker and decision maker someone is, this good of an assist to turnover ratio is completely unheard of. This is all-time great level territory. He's one of the best decision makers in the game, and I cannot say this enough, but the guy literally does not make mistakes. While making the right but simple pass doesn't seem hard, the fact he does it right every single time is what is so impressive. While a single 5-minute stretch will rarely show Hali's actual impact, over hundreds and even thousands of possessions is where his impact is really shown, which is why his advanced metrics are so good despite being a point guard who isn't some elite rebounder or defender. Haliburton ranks 6th in win shares, 3rd in offensive win shares, 7th in box plus minus, and 5th in offensive box plus minus, 4th in VORP, 10th in offensive rating, 14th in PER, 10th in EPM, and 4th in offensive EPM. While advanced stats also aren't always indicative of how good a player is, usually they're pretty flawed, him being this good in them is a very bright spot in his resume as a player, and if I must compare him to a modern player in a weird sort of way, I would compare Hali to Rudy Gobert. While they are complete opposite players, Hali being an offensive engine and Rudy being a defensive paint anchor, they both have impact that goes way beyond the numbers. While they don't make the flashiest plays or have the best counting stats, they consistently make the right play. Over hundreds or even thousands of possessions, they consistently have a huge impact and are not making many mistakes. And why Hali doesn't make many mistakes is that the combination of processing and decision making that he has is one of the best to ever grace a basketball court. Him being able to scan the floor and make his move at the speed he does is so impressive that many people don't realize. He plays at 100 and is just extremely fast and pushes the pace a lot, leading to Hali and the Pacers being elite in transition. While he isn't scoring that much in transition, barely making the top 100 in points per game in that area, he has a lot of his value as a playmaker. The Pacers rank 6th in points in transition and are top 5 in efficiency, with a points per possession of 1.17. That level of efficiency on that many transition possessions is insane, considering just how valuable transition possessions are. Hali is great at pushing the pace and even possesses a great outlet pass and getting out in transition, and that is so valuable, considering the average transition possession is much more valuable than the average half-court possession. Now, if you've enjoyed so far, if you could subscribe, that'd be great. We're actually really close to 2,500, which is just insane, so thank y'all so much. Sorry I haven't been posting much, pretty busy with school, but I'm about to be done, so over the summer I should be way more consistent. But back to the video. Now, another thing that makes Hali such a unique player and work better in transition is how he does a lot of his playmaking. Now, instead of passing through sets and just normal position spot-up shooters, he's more of a flow type of playmaker. He doesn't pass through sets as much as a guy like Luka, who really has a set way to pass and who he's going to pass to. But instead, he's so ready to pass at any time that he will create wherever. His and the entire team's unselfishness help feed into that, as the Pacers actually might be the most unselfish team in the league, full of very good connective passers, Hali being one of them. Hali might also be the best soft playmaker in the league, and he truly empowers his teammates to be better. The continuity of this group does help that, as they have grown together over the last few years, with guys like Mathurin, Nesmith, and Nembhard developing into key players alongside Hali, and other than Thomas Bryant, the entire rotation was on the team last season. The Pacers and Hali are elite in the pick and roll too. As a team, they are scoring the second most points, nearly 28 a game from it, and they create even more looks than just Hali scoring. It gives Hali some time to scan the defense and make reads if he needs to kick out to shooters, where Indy ranks top 10 in catch and shoot 3-point percentage. It's also a bit easier for Hali if he is matched up against a taller person because of his height, where a big advantage he has is he can see over people, and especially has easier times than a guy like Chris Paul who's 6 foot on a good day. Now, all of this is with a decreased workload, as they try to have more of a free-flow offense with the ball not in Hali's hands at times, with his usage rate dropping 3 points to 21.6%, the lowest full season in Indianapolis, but it still works. But what does matter if he can't perform in the playoffs? So how has he actually played in that? Well, last season the Pacers would make the conference finals in Hali's first playoffs, upsetting the Knicks in the second round and giving Boston the biggest test on their championship run, while averaging 19-8 despite being injured, and this year he has been even better. The Pacers won against the Bucks in the first round for the second consecutive season, but there was legit hype for the Bucks as Giannis was healthy in this series, and many fans were expecting him to just be enough and that he would run through the Pacers, but that was far from the case. While Giannis was great, Milwaukee's defense genuinely could not stop Haliburton. They had no hope, and even though he wouldn't put up the most efficient or eye-popping scoring numbers, with just 17.6 points on an inefficient 42% from the field because he had a rough deep-range shooting series, his impact was still there. He averaged an absurd 11.6 assists and of course was by far the most in the first round, and his impact as a floor generator and initiator went way further than that, and even in the first game of the second round matchup against Cleveland, they shocked the world behind Hali's elite performance. He would finish with 22 points on 9 for 15 from the field and 13 assists with just 1 turnover when the game was virtually already sealed, so pretty much 0 turnovers. He was absolutely insane and even played amazing defense down the stretch, consistently locking up guys in the final few minutes to clinch the upset win for the Pacers and steal home court. But this isn't a fluke. They can actually win this series. Though many people don't know much about Indy and the national media hasn't been spreading much hype for the Pacers, this team is for real and they have been for a while. They made the conference finals last season and got better this year. It really shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Since the turn of the calendar year after they started out at a rough 16-18, they would go 34-14 to close the season, the 4th best record among all teams and only half a game back at Cleveland, while the 5th place teams are 3 games back. This team is legit. While on-off numbers aren't always perfect, it is very notable to mention, with Hali on the floor, the Pacers are plus 3.3 points every 100 possessions. While he's off, negative 0.8. He makes this team as good as it is, and somehow, this team is better built for success than last year. While last year's Pacers were insane offensively, ranking 2nd in offensive rating, they were also the 7th worst defense. That's a very stark contrast to this season, where Indy ranks inside the top half in defense while still possessing an elite offense. This team is much more dangerous and has more potential than last season, and while they don't have a large actual title chance, just due to the difficulty of their run, which would likely consist of the Cavs, Celtics, and Thunder, this is a scarier team than many think, and they have a good chance against Cleveland. The Cavs looked really bad defensively in Game 1, even with their bigs Allen and Mobley just being in the wrong spots, and their wings don't look like they can keep up defensively with the influx of guys that can score by putting the ball on the floor of Indiana. While the Cavs still do have a good chance, they won 64 games for a reason, and Darius Garland was out in this game. Indy will make it closer than most expected, and it truly can go either way, especially if the Garland injury is serious, and if Hali keeps playing like this, we might have to have some serious conversations about Haliburton, as he may be creeping up into the top 15 players in the league, and he's a force that nobody wants to play against.